Hello everybody, I'm Tamarin. I was in a coffee shop in my neighborhood, I don't know, a while back, and it's a small little coffee shop. There's a counter behind it, they make your coffee, and there's a little glass case there. You might buy a muffin or a croissant or something. And the woman who runs it, who owns it, is also a local, and she's an entrepreneur, a very hard worker. She's made her living from this little coffee shop for decades. It's out kind of away from the city, so it's hard to get people to come and work there. So it's away from the city, it's short hours. So it's probably hard to get, I'm sure it's hard to get labor. I've watched her for a long, long time, and it's hard to get labor there. So anyway, she had hired another woman who I'm sure is also a local because I've seen her around. And she's in her early 70s, maybe mid 70s. And when there's a lot of people there, you gotta act fast. You take their order, you make their coffee, they put your muffin in the bag and you leave. So she needed someone to help her. Simple jobs like getting more cream and putting it out, or giving people napkins, or putting something in the oven to zap, or something like that. And this woman, the new worker, she's actually not that new. I mean, I'd seen her before, but just this particular day really struck me, so that's why I'm going to tell you about it. But anyway, she really was not very capable that day. I've seen her many times, and she's not a overly capable person. And I could see the frustration on the owner's face. And I have to say that my neighborhood is kind of it's like one of the last bastions of hippie dip, meaning people there, it's changing, but a lot of people there still believe in that old 1960s, 1970s attitude of love and peace and love your neighbor and help people. And a lot of people are still like that. They are very kind, they're very patient, they help people without even asking. It's a really nice feeling. So I could see and the owner of the coffee shop is like that. And I could see the frustration on her face, but she's a very kind person and very patient, and she's going to help people. So I eventually got my coffee and I left, but I was thinking about this woman because she really wasn't very competent. I mean, what the owner needed was something that a 10-year-old could have done and probably would have done. So I'm thinking about this other woman, thinking, what did she get out of this? What did she get out of being so incompetent and incapable? And I realize it's a part of her identity. It's a part of how she thinks of herself and how she thinks who she is. And, is that going to change? Why should she change? Does she want to change? And then that sparked another memory of another story, and I think I read it in a book a long time ago. It was somebody, I think on the East Coast. She's telling the story of her neighbor. Her neighbor was an Eastern woman who had immigrated to the US, and she was married here, and she had her children here, and her children were growing up here as Americans. But her husband traveled sometimes, and he was gone for 3 days, and the light bulb went out, and she sat there for 3 days with her children in the dark, made her children sit there in the dark and wait for her husband to come home to change the light bulb. And she's telling the story to her neighbor, who's then telling the story in this book I read, or the magazine article I read. I don't remember where I got it from anymore. She's saying with pride, she's telling her the story with pride. And then she says, you women need to learn how to be more helpless. So notice and observe.